Hi everyone, it's Peter and Adrian from PS Sound, and we are going to show you this amazing yet simple system in Adrian's Mini. When did we start this?
May last year.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that it came together really quickly. It came together a million times quicker than your previous car, which was never finished actually,
No.
and that was annoying. You had a beautiful Mercedes where we had a reference level mid-bass install that it cost me blood and tear. Hang on a second. The microphone is falling off my ears, so the guys are now going to hear some noise. And that never went anywhere after that.
No.
And then you brought this car down. Come on, Pete, let's have a look at it. And you came down a few times for just 2 days, and then it just came together so quick it was unreal. We had few reels of it on social when we did the mids on the dash, when we did a couple of things in the car. Maybe did we have a video of the sub install? Maybe not.
No.
But on Patreon we shared the whole progress, so some of the guys have seen this Mini, and now it's time to share it publicly as well, because you started to take it to shows, meetings, competitions, and then at least people can see what's in it, because this is not an everyday setup, that's for sure. Let's start with the boot. Let's have a look at that. By the way, what's the given model of this Mini? Because this is not.
Clubman.
It's Clubman as well.
Yeah.
What year is it?
2011, the R55 generation.
Okay, so it's a bit longer, because you have, not on this side, on the other side, you have a suicide door to get into the back. Let's have a look at the boot. Let's show the guys what we have so far. It's not finished, but now it's presentable. So what's amazing in this car is that you have two levels, and then underneath the floor, which is there, actually, do you have the panel? And then we can drop it in, and then you can see how practical this car is. You can put the floor above it, and then it just swallows. Ah, the torch, that's what Adrian is bringing. There you go. We can see it better. So, and then underneath that floor level, there's a spare wheel well as well. So when we saw that he turned up, I think it took me 6 hours to install that sub.
Yeah.
I remember that we had something to do in the morning, and I had to finish that quick. And then I started this after lunchtime, and by the end of the day, we were done. Because this had steel floor, which was amazing. Easy cutout. There's a birch ring, dual ring that's fabricated and bolted through the floor. And then we just need the classic ring guard foam, which is like professional audio grill foam that you can see on PA speakers. Just search for it as PA speaker grill foam. Yeah, that's all you need to search for, and you will find it, because people keep asking about it. Although we have video about it on YouTube in the IB playlist. And yeah, it was that easy. Acoustic Elegance IB15AU went in there, and it just does what usually it does. So then the system runs off a V12. In the beginning we bought that because we had the intention to run millions of speakers, and then now we've realized that a V8 would be perfectly enough.
But we've got it now.
We've got it, yeah, and we could throw in more speakers, and one day we may do, because actually you have good speaker locations here and there, so we can still spice it up and then do some fun. So that runs the components, three-way front and rear feel, and then we have an M1 that runs the front sub, and an M1X that runs the Acoustic Elegance. Nice and simple layout, because we only have these three amplifiers. And what's the fourth output from that fuse distribution?
The switch and the voltmeter.
Oh yeah, that's what you run to the front, so yeah, you can run the switch. Yeah, everything is braided, everything is secured, we have machine inserts and all of that. But it was so easy, because you literally need just this floor panel, squeeze everything in, work around things. Yes, it's not like OCD level wiring, cables don't run like super immaculately and whatnot, but it's all safe, tidy. And then one day we will have a trim panel going over it, and then that will expose some of the gear. We will show what we want to show, and we will hide what we want to hide. And yeah, to be fair, if you put the floor panel back in, it would be all gone. It would be all hidden. Let's go to the front, and actually we will need that torch because we have some crazy stuff happening there. So when we were looking at mid-bass, some of you know that we hate doors. And actually, I think when you turned up, you have done the door build.
Yeah.
And we had the Micro Precision 5 Series in there, which is still in there. That will have to come out at some point. And no matter how much work you've done on the door, it was one of the worst doors, I think.
Yeah.
It was
It's terrible.
literally, it was laughable. It was so bad. And then we were looking at options. Do we do a door enclosure? But then door lines are weird, and to build a box, and it would be so much work, so much time. And then we started to look for alternatives. We were looking at the kicks. Not really. Underneath the seat, not really. But then Peter was poking his finger through holes, which may sound weird. And I found something in this car, and I couldn't believe it. That was just like luck, pure luck. So you can see a 6.5 in the firewall in this car. There was a grommet there, quite a big chunky grommet. Relatively flat surface. And then I pulled the grommet out, which was probably like 1.5 inches. I could put a few fingers in, and I was reaching in to see what's happening. There's a dual layer firewall and a big cavity underneath the floor. Probably you have at least 3-4 inches double layer. And I was reaching out to see what's happening there, and we managed to make a large enough hole. I don't know how big hole we made, 4 inch roughly.
Yeah, it's a square. It was a square.
A square. We cut a square out to let the driver breathe in there. But how many speakers would you be able to fit there? Only one. I had this wild idea that I would want to use that Morel mid-bass driver in a project once, and then straight away when I saw this possibility, I was like, we gotta do it. We gotta try it. And yeah, the pedals are close, but we tested it and we are still plenty far away from the grill. And that Morel, which model is it?
Nano.
Carbon.
Carbon 6.
Something.
MW6.
MW6, that's
Yeah.
the one. Nano Carbon MW6. It's so shallow that if you cut a 3.25 inch, an 18mm ring out, you put the speaker in it, and then it's still clearing. It's like 15mm shallow. It's crazy. And most people wouldn't think too much of it, but it works perfectly well. There's plenty of cone area. Excursion on it looks small initially, but then we never had problem with it. First, when we didn't have front sub in the car, we were playing it down to 45 hertz, and it was still coping. I was expecting the driver to flap like crazy, move like crazy, and it wasn't. He has a decently big voice coil on it, like most of the drivers from Morel, and it was not struggling at all, and it was playing clean, and there's no other option that would literally fit there.
No.
And this way we let it breathe out, and it looks like that cavity opens up outside, because we can hear plenty of mid-bass outside, so it's not sealed in the firewall like in Mercedes. This is more like IB. So if you have a car like this, then easy. I think we did that in a single day, both sides, didn't we?
Yeah.
It was so quick. We didn't need much sealing around the mounting ring. Bolt it straight onto rev nuts, speaker in, that's it. And we just had to cut the carpet around, and this way, yeah, easy life. On the other side it was slightly different, I will show it. But that literally is the key of a good performing system, clean mid-bass. Straight away we knew that, okay, this system is going to be wicked. We could see the IB at the back. We will see how we can integrate them. That's when we realized that, okay, we will still need a front sub for great integration. Even the front sub is going to be very tricky in this car, guys. So what everybody might have seen on our social was that mid-range install. Even with that, we were lucky, because the top of the dash comes out separately. What did we have to take out? The center console area, a couple of things.
Just the clocks and the vents.
Yeah.
And then the dash lifts off.
Lifts off and then slides out.
Yep.
So yes, we did a simple solution. Many people don't find it the most integrated visually, for sure. It's not. But we wanted performance, not beauty contest.
I actually like it like that.
Yeah. Yes, a grill maybe would be cool, and we talked about it, that maybe one day we have a grill on the top of the mid-range, but now you're used to it, to be fair. And those Micro Precision 5 Series mids, they perform well. We didn't have to play crazy low, because the mid bass in the firewall plays up high enough, and those Micro Precisions, to be fair, they are very capable.
Yeah.
Even with the simple dashboard install, of course, with that on the whole underside of the dash, we have solid response down to 120 Hz with those 3-inch mids. It's insane. I wouldn't suggest to cross it that low for sure. We are crossing at 210, and they work just perfectly fine, even at loud levels. And yeah, we have very accurate staging with those speakers and beautiful mid-range. Then we ended up with our AMTs. Not a surprise, I think, not for any of you. They do their usual job, great resolution. And yes, maybe the aiming is questionable to some people. With this this way, horizontally we get a narrow dispersion pattern, and it has to be pretty laser beam aimed to the driver. This way you get less reflection to the sides. But up and down, like height-wise, then it's pretty wide, so it's not so sensitive to the seating position. Height-wise, you can have somebody short or somebody tall, and they are going to get great coverage high frequency wise. But then, yeah, the width is a bit tricky this way. Passenger doesn't get all the detail because that tweeter is aimed to the driver. Yeah, personally I prefer it mounted vertically, but that's just me. We ended up with this, I don't even know why.
Because you decided to do it like that.
Well, I think
You said it was best.
Eddie had a bigger influence on that
Yeah.
at the time. But it works.
Yeah, it's fine.
It works. So mid and high works just fine, especially now after a retune after a year, because we took the car to a competition last year, and then when I sat in it in the morning, I was like, nah, this is not right. After everything ran in, that tune, when back in the day it was fresh and it was on point, it just fell apart, and it wasn't on point anymore. It was still okay, but yeah, this system has to be more than okay. So now it's back on track. It's doing everything what we want from it. Let's go to the other side, because we have to show the madness over there. So I'm not sure if we will see anything from the mid bass on this side, Adrian. Do we?
No, you'd have to take the carpet completely out.
Let's see. Oh yeah. So that's where we modified the carpet and pulled the foam and stuff off it. And the mid bass has to play through that carpet, which it does just about okay. Yes, it would be better if we could modify everything, but this way it's safe, it's protected, and it doesn't present any buzzes or rattles. But yeah, it's literally bolted onto the steel, onto firewall, so it's rigid and it's tight. Yeah, everybody's looking for the mid bass in this car, and they think it's this, but nope. There's nothing playing in the doors, no buzzes, no rattles. And then now, people might be thinking, okay, where's the front sub? All right?
Yeah.
So now people will see another solution, and then some people will start laughing or coming up with different names. So there was a time in 2020 when one of our competitors was planning to go to Salzburg, and Will had a Volkswagen Scirocco, like a sporty Golf, and he couldn't fit a sub in his boot because it was filled up with SPL subs. And Will was competing in SPL, so he couldn't use those subs in his SQ competition because the subs were way too expensive, the monoblock was way too expensive, and then he was in a price limited category in entry 3,000, and 3,000 euro is very limited. So he had to find a solution to have any sub in his system, because any sub is better than no sub. He had a freeway front end, custom pillars, mid end tweet, mid bass in the door, and without a sub it wouldn't have scored well. So I had a crazy idea, just because I'm pretty confident when it comes to tuning and I know how we can load bass in a cabin. I came up with an idea to put a subwoofer in the cabin to the passenger side, but instead of locating it up front, because even in that car we had no room up front, and even here because of the mid bass we can't put a front sub there. And the glove box was not an option in that car either, and even in this we were looking at the glove box and I'm like, nah. The dashboard would have fallen apart. We came up with an idea at that time and in this car as well to fit the front sub behind the passenger seat, down firing. So, how do I take this? This way.
Yeah, put it electric.
So we have a down firing configuration here with a 10-inch SB acoustic subs that we use a lot because it's nice and musical, accurate, and great value too. Yes, it takes away one passenger's legroom, but you never had to worry about that because Adrian has a big family, and then when he has to carry the whole family, he takes the bus. Yeah, especially now. Jesus, 8 of you. That's quite a party when you go somewhere all together. So in this car, this was not a problem to take up that space. Yes, the seat cannot slide all the way back, but still, it's plenty roomy for a passenger. And yes, when you give a demo to somebody and then you sit on the passenger side, then you get plenty of massage. Or your passenger on a long journey gets plenty of massage, because now this front sub is giving plenty of tactile feel to the passenger seat, which sometimes is fun, sometimes is crazy.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. What people have to take away from this solution is that it's a solution and it works. Yes, it requires the knowledge to tune it right, but when people hear it, they just don't know where it is. They hear it from up front, and it helps to integrate the front mid bass to the rear sub, and it blends in. There's no buzzes, no rattles, as if it was in the glove box. And it just works. Yes, we have to cross it maybe a little bit lower than you could get away with having a front sub up front. But if the mid bass can play down to 70, 80 hertz in most occasions, especially in this one, we are, before we were, as I said, we were crossing at 45 and it was still solid. It was crazy. Yes, we couldn't maintain the same dynamic level with just the mid bass and the rear sub when the mid bass had to play that low, but now because this is integrated and that's playing actually between 45 and 70, that way everything works just beautifully. There's no struggle with the mid bass. Front sub does the punchy up front bass, and then rear sub blends in this way nicely. And people have to hear this car. That's all I can say. That's why I want to share all these projects with you guys. There's nothing to hide for us, even if it's competing. Yes, I'm not going to show the settings and the tuning side of it. That's something we can't have RT evaluation of when we have a competition car. Although the funny thing is, I could happily share this even on Patreon when we do RT evaluations, because there's nothing in this that would give any clue to anybody, to a judge or anybody, to think that, oh, okay, I saw that RT measurement and I know that you have a problem acoustically on this side or that side or something like that, because this car with this layout doesn't show any issues really.
All
It pulls together.
frequencies are covered.
But not just that, but that's what people should take away after hundreds of videos I shared everywhere. That once you have speakers working in their range without cancellations and without vibrations, then once you know how to tune, they can integrate beautifully. And all you hear is the music. You're not focusing on speakers. And that was the same in wheels. When we had this front sub solution in his Scirocco behind the seat, everybody was looking for the sub and they were like, where is it? Nobody could tell it. And we just asked them, where do you hear it from? And they were like, well, from the top of the dash.
Then that's all that matters.
That's what you want.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the demos, when we showed them that actually the sub is behind the passenger seat and nobody could notice it because it's carpeted black in a dark car, you just don't see it when you sit inside of a dark car. And everybody was like, what? How can it work? But that's the beauty of our hearing, that human ears are sensitive below 300 hertz to phase more than anything. And then if the drivers are in time and in phase, if they blend together beautifully on point, and if you have no resonances, no rattles, speakers can vanish. So yeah, it's just an amazing thing that I think we pulled this system together only after a couple of visits.
Yeah.
3, 4 visits, was it?
Yeah, this is probably the fifth.
Fifth.
Yeah.
What was the first we did?
First was
Sub and amps.
sub an amp, yeah, sub and amps, and the tweeters. No, it was mids first. It was the mids and the tweeters,
Mm-hmm.
and we did the sub. Then I came back, and then we did the amps and the cabling.
I think that was when I was away and I
Yeah.
did that. Yep.
And then the third visit was the mid bass, and
Then you
Yeah.
came back for the
then
front
I came
sub,
back. Fourth
Yep.
one was for the front sub. Fifth one is today.
and then it's today when
Yeah.
we had a little bit of tweaky to bring this car back to glory.
Yeah.
And overall, not that many hours went into it, and actually it's built to master level, where in EMA they require all the craftsmanship, everything properly done, cables braided and pictures and all that. And you were taking pictures of the whole process, and now it's all done. And floor in, fully practical. That's what everybody wants.
Mhm.
Stealthy, and it has a full crazy system. Yeah, this car has pretty much the best value gear. Like, many people wouldn't take it seriously seeing a DSP amplifier in the car, but well, I let them listen to it, and they can tell if that's enough for them. For 90% of audiophiles, this is going to be just perfectly fine. And then, of course, you will always find 10% of people who have different reference level, and they are crying for some more high-end presentation when it comes to amplification and what they can bring. Because, of course, there is a bit more that can be done. But then it's not unheard that some cars perform so well with these DSP amplifiers that many people get shocked. Like, best example from latest Eurofinals, that Lee had one of his competitors' cars, Pritesh's Mercedes, in Master Unlimited with a V18.
Yeah, V18. Yeah.
Similar layout. Running V18 was running the components. Probably same way Helix M1X running subs.
Yeah.
And he came fourth out of, I don't know, it was a big class, like 18 cars. But the top three were the usual big fishes with, you know, crazy Brax DSPs and Brax amps, and some had micro precision studio amps and diamond tweeters and you name it, all of that crazy stuff. And then yet Lee's car came right behind those cars because it was built well, tuned well, and for Emma, it was doing all those things that they need to tick. All the boxes were ticked, and it's just a nice system. Yeah,
Yeah.
just like yours.
I'm happy with it.
Perfect example when people, you know, start to cry that, oh, Pete, now you're only working on crazy big projects like we had the RS6 and the GTR at the beginning of the year. And then there you go. You don't need to have that. You can have amazing listening experience with something like this. Yes, you have to choose the right car where you can do these crazy things. And then probably shortly, in the upcoming week, we will also share what's happening in this Mini, because some people have already seen it in one of the videos in the background, and somebody commented, oh, come on, Pete, we have to see what's in this one.
Yeah.
So this is the latest version of yours. It's a bit bigger.
Yeah.
And then we have a very OEM plus, shall we say. Everything, all the speakers are in factory locations except the tweeters. And people jump in and they won't see much, yet yeah, you heard it.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
If you could have had this straight away in yours, you would have been just fine.
Yeah.
You would have been just fine. So we will have a walk around explained video of this as well, and then you will see what we did in that in an even simpler way with less custom fabrication. Yeah, that's a daily car. That's not built for masterclass competition craziness. It's just a great sounding OEM platform with great solutions. So that's it. That's about Adrian's. Oh, you know what? Let's show the suicide door on yours. It's so cool. That's so cool on this car. Yeah, this tiny little thing, woohoo, opens up like that, and then you can jump in. Well, that's why they can also see the subwoofer taking up that space, and they can also see the rear view. What have we got in there?
Vibe 6x9s
Oh,
that
yeah,
I had from my old car.
yeah, you fitted something you had on the shelf, and
6x9s were standard.
Yep.
So I just,
yeah, you did a lot of soundproofing on this car. I remember that's what was your first job.
you can see the OEM tweeter, but they're not connected as well.
Yeah. But yeah, the car is solid. and it's also quite pokey. What power does it have?
It's about 190
Hmm.
brake horse.
That's decent. Decent for this little pocket rocket
Yeah.
with the additional weight added with music.
Yeah. And the deadening.
And the deadening.
Yeah.
So this is it. We're gonna finish it here, guys, with Adrian. Hopefully you got some inspiration and a few new ideas for crazy mid bass or crazy front sub or a practical boot. Sometimes it's funny when people go to see cars to a dealership, like a second-hand car dealership, and then yeah, it's funny when they see us because we start looking at weird things in cars, just looking for speaker locations. They're like, what are these guys doing? But it's inevitable. You know, you see a car on the street, you know, we start looking through the windscreen for the dash and things like that. Like, what are you doing? You're so suspicious. I'm like, nah, I'm just checking speakers in the car. I'm like, what? Yeah, but yeah, this is a great example, and yeah, an amazing project. Hopefully, this is gonna stay with us for a few years.
Yep.
Right?
No plans to get rid of it.
Adrian is gonna look after it, and then people will see it. Are you coming to the 26th or you're not?
No.
You can't come to 26th. When can you show up at any event?
I'll be at the next Emma.
Which is,
The week
what is it?
before,
18, 19th July?
July. Yeah, I think. Yeah, it's in July.
Yeah, I think it's mid-July that weekend. We have a competition
19th. Yeah.
19th in Birmingham area
Yeah.
at Stinger Solutions. Check out Emma UK, guys. Emma UK has all the events up, so you can go to that, and then after that you will see whatever else comes. So this is it for this one. Feel free to share it, guys. Comment, do all the usual things. Check out description where you can see our Patreon channel. Then you can go there and you can check all the daily updates of this. You can see how everything was installed, because I think we shared everything there when we were going along with this. And then hopefully we will still have follow-up of this project later, at least when we finish the boot, and we will make it pretty at some point. We figure it out, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.